Hi, everybody. My name's Dr. Scott Giacomucci. I'm the director and founder of the Phoenix Center for Experiential Trauma Therapy in Media, Pennsylvania. Today, I want to talk to you about stress, and specifically the difference between regular stress and traumatic stress. So we all know stress. It's part of being human, but not all stress is the same. What do you think the difference is between the everyday stress that we feel versus the deep and life-altering stress that comes from trauma or traumatic stress? So this video is going to look at those differences. In talking about regular stress, this is something that everybody feels. We might experience stress from different deadlines at work, or maybe we have a meeting and we're running late to, or we have an argument with a friend or a partner, financial worries, the stress of everything going on in the world, stress about our puppy being sick. I mean, we might have stress related to all sorts of different things. And in some ways, we might even think about stress as an indicator that something that we care about is uncertain. Now, regular stress is perfectly healthy, perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong or unhealthy or pathological or sick about having regular stress. Everybody has it. Everybody feels it. Regular stress is typically shorter term. It comes and goes depending on the situation. And the stress that we feel on a day-to-day basis can even be really motivating. It pushes us to get stuff done. Like if I'm stressed about a test I have to take, that stress is going to motivate me to study. Or if I'm stressed about a deadline with a work project, that stress is going to push me to get the project done. So stress can really be helpful. It can help us to adapt and change and get into action. When we experience normal stress, maybe our heartbeat starts increasing temporarily, our body gets pumped full of cortisol and adrenaline, but then we return to baseline once the stress passes, once the stressor or the circumstance changes or ends. This is all a little bit or a lot different than traumatic stress. Traumatic stress is triggered by events that overwhelm our ability to cope and disrupt our sense of safety in our mind and our body. These might be accidents or violence or abuse or natural disasters or war. These events usually feel pretty life-threatening and really leave us feeling unsafe. These events or traumas, adversities can really have a lasting impact, not just on the mind, but also on the brain and the nervous system and our sense of self. Trauma and traumatic stress can show up with symptoms like nightmares or flashbacks or numbing, avoidance, hypervigilance, really a difficulty feeling safe again. So these are some of the key differences between regular stress and traumatic stress. One big difference is the intensity. Day-to-day regular stress is usually pretty manageable, and if it isn't manageable, it might feel unmanageable temporarily, whereas traumatic stress feels completely unmanageable and completely overwhelming, and it usually doesn't pass quickly. Before we go any further in the video, I want to share a quick message with you. I want you to know that we see people heal from trauma every day, and we believe that this is possible for you too. No matter what you've been through or what you've experienced, there is hope for healing. And there are caring professionals that are able to help you. At the Phoenix Center for Experiential Trauma Therapy, we specialize in helping individuals move beyond trauma, grief, and difficult life experiences. We provide in-person therapy in Media, Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia, or online therapy for those in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. We also offer online trauma recovery coaching and professional consultation for clients and professionals around the world. If we aren't a good fit for what you're looking for, we might be able to offer you some suggestions of other trusted colleagues that you could work with. You don't have to try to deal with the trauma or grief alone. Learn more about our services, fees, and therapists on our website, where you can also schedule a free intake call and start your trauma therapy or recovery coaching journey with us. All right, back to the video. So the intensity is the first difference. The second difference is the duration. Regular stress usually fades when the problem is solved, whereas traumatic stress can linger for months and years and decades, continue to impact us long after the circumstance has ended. Another major difference is the impact on the nervous system. When we experience regular stress, our nervous system might get activated, but then it returns to baseline. Whereas trauma really can leave us in a chronic sense of survival. It can create a sense of prolonged stress and even more acute stress, spikes of stress that are a bit higher, a bit more intense than day-to-day regular stress. And this acute and prolonged stress over time can really impact the nervous system and other systems within the body. It can start to break down the digestive system. It can start to cause problems with our heart, with our lungs, with different parts of the body that we don't normally consider to be associated with trauma. Another major difference between regular stress and traumatic stress is the function. Regular stress can really help us grow, whereas traumatic stress usually disrupts our sense of growth, our sense of safety, and disrupts our relationships. The one caveat to that I would throw in there as a footnote is the phenomenon of post-traumatic growth, which I've talked about in other videos here, in that sometimes trauma, actually quite often, trauma challenges us to grow. So in talking about the difference between regular stress and traumatic stress, I think it's important to make this distinction. Differentiating between regular stress and traumatic stress helps us reduce self-blame, especially if we're struggling after trauma and feeling like this stress should be gone, or why am I still impacted by this, or I'm such a baby, I'm a wuss, I should be over this by now. Understanding it can help us normalize that traumatic stress is something that doesn't just go away when the circumstance ends. Understanding this difference can help encourage us to seek the right kind of support. When we're struggling with traumatic stress, it really requires a different type of support and care and response than just normal day-to-day stress management. Understanding the difference between regular stress and traumatic stress can help promote compassion towards ourselves and compassion towards others if we have a loved one that's struggling with traumatic stress. So when we're struggling with regular stress, it's important that we engage in simple self-care techniques, things like breathing or exercise and managing our time to try to reduce the stress. Whereas when we're struggling with traumatic stress, usually we need professional help in order to overcome and heal from the trauma. This may involve therapy, other trauma-informed care avenues, and supportive therapeutic relationships. So although stress is common, traumatic stress is different. And I really want to emphasize that healing and relief is possible from both. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to check out some of the other videos on the channel here and subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you found helpful in the video in the comments below, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.